Hello and welcome back to Outward Bound UAE's series of short videos to help keep you entertained while you're stuck indoors.
Today we're going to be going into a little bit more detail on maps. We're going to be looking at the contours and the features that they can show. In our first video we talked about how contours can help you to define the shapes of the hills. Just here we can see the contours on this side. They're very dark, they're very close together. That's going to make us think that the hill is going to be very steep on that side. In contrast to that, these contours here, these are very far apart. So there is still some hill, but it's going to be very shallow. There are a few different features of the contours that will help us to figure out what these hills look like. The first feature that is going to help us to determine what these hills look like are going to be our ring contours, just here. This little ring is denoting the top of a hill. And as we go out from this ring, the rings start to get bigger and bigger and bigger until eventually they blend into other lines. This means that on this side of the hill we've got steep ground, this side we've got steep ground, and it blends into the side of this much bigger hill over here, which also has a ring contour on top, telling us that that is the top of another hill. In between these two hills we're going to have a saddle point where the ground here and here is high and it goes downhill until it meets in the middle. From the sides of this point here, we've got two gullies coming off this side and this side. The way we tell if something's a gully is going to be based on the U-shaped contours here or these V-shaped contours here. Both of these can denote a valley or a wadi here in the UAE. So taking this part here, for example, we've got U-shapes going in and then getting flatter and flatter and flatter as they come out, which tells us because they're far apart here, the ground is not so steep. It's going to get steeper in the middle here, and then it's going to get more shallow as we come out of the wadi. The opposite to one of these wadis or gullies that we found is going to be what we see over here. So the triangles pointing away from the hill. This is the top of the hill here. We've found that with our ring contour, and the triangles or the U-shapes are pointing away from it this time. This is called a ridge, and in real life that's just going to look like the hill is flat on top and then it's starting to dip down as you go further away from the top of the hill. So we've talked about names of a few different features that you can have through contours. I'm going to put all of that together now, and we're going to look at this hill here, this sort of range across there. Starting from the right hand side, we go from near the ground where this track is, and we've got our U-shapes pointing away from the top of the hill. So this is going to be a ridge. We could expect to walk up here, quite steep, and there's going to be ground dropping off to both sides. As we get to the top, it's going to flatten out, but still with the ground dropping off to both sides, so we're going to be walking along this ridge. And then over here we can see that the lines are getting closer and closer together before you get to the ring contour at the top. So from here, walking up, we're going to be going up a steep hill, and we're going to get to this point here where it flattens out, and this is going to be our summit. From the summit, we come down the other side, still with these steep contours, but we're going away from the top of the hill this time, away from the ring contour, which means that we're going to be going downhill. And we've got this gully, U-shapes, leading up, so we know that we're going to see that on our left-hand side. So when we're planning our route, we can look for these things and we can figure out what we're going to see as we go. As we get down to the top of this gully, we'll be in the saddle point between this ring contour and this ring contour. And from this ring contour here, from the small one, we're going to come across here, we're going to pass by another saddle point between this gully and the other side where it's a lot flatter over here. And we're going to follow this ridge line here. We're going to have steep ground on this side, and we're going to have shallow ground on the other side. As we come along the top here, we're going to be able to see all of these three ring contours along the way. And we know from what we've talked about already that these are going to denote the tops of hills. But because there's only one contour, we know it's not going to be very big. This is going to be a small hill, and another small hill, and another small hill, until we finally get to the road, and we should know that we're at the road because the ground on the other side, just here, the contours are very far apart from each other, so that's going to be a big flat bit. I hope this video has been really useful today. I hope we've learned a lot from it. If you've got any questions or queries, anything that you want to suggest to us, then please leave them in the comments below, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. That's all from us today, and ma salama.